I'm delighted to welcome Lord Glasman tonight.
Good evening, everybody, and really lovely to be here. As you probably know, I'm a foreigner from North London, so I very rarely, just maybe what it was like in the 70s, is that I saw this television report about South London, which they said in South London there was lots of marijuana smoking and casual sex, so I crossed the river in search of these things, but I never found it. And since then I've been to South London a lot more. Just to say, there's two people here I would definitely never ever conceive of saying no to, which is Nick Pecorelli and Rabbi Smallman. So it's a real delight to see you both and to be here. So I'm going to begin just generally with how I see things and then get more specific. And so the first thing I want to share with you is that I spend a lot of my days in Westminster, in the Houses of Parliament, and I'm just going to agree that politics is completely stuck at the moment. It's really constipated in an extraordinary way. And that's just to deal with the lower half of the body. In the upper half of the body, there is widespread confusion, which in adults tastes very stressful. People don't know where to start. They don't know what's gone wrong. So I'm a Labour politician, and my party thought, a month ago, a little more than a month ago, were convinced they were going to be the next government. Okay, they were absolutely, so the biggest ball in politics that I can share with you is from Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali said, you never get knocked out by a punch you see coming. Right? And, it was a collective not seeing it coming moment. Somehow they mistook the people of England for Twitter. And they thought that we were on our way, guys. There was no doubt about it. So I'm dealing with people with, post-traumatic stress syndrome, I would definitely say. So everything's great, things are on track, we're on our way, but they don't know where. That's really important. So I just want to talk a little bit about the nature of that stuckness and why it's a real delight to be with you and why I think that what you're doing is so obviously the way ahead. And it's actually much more important now what's going on in the think tanks, what's going on. People are coming up to me even now and say, well, what do you think our policy should be on this? And what do you think our policy should be on that? And it's very difficult to reply that there's absolutely no prospect of us being in government for at least 5 years. Then you think we should be thinking about something else rather than your policies. Like, do you have any friends? Do you know anybody? That sort of thing. And it's a real indication of how stuck and broken the system has become. But people are still going along thinking that everything's okay, that things are okay, but they're not okay. They're not okay for them. I think things are okay for you. So just to say, the first thing is, we've got a politics that's stuck and blocked. So I want to begin with what the problem was. Well, I hope you don't think I think it's a statement that's obvious to say that you will need a prosperous and thriving market. But that's a really straightforward thing to say anywhere other than the Labour Party. For most people, the idea is that it's good to have prosperity and it's good to work. That's a good thing. But we've also got to talk about the problems with the market, with the concentration of wealth in too few hands, in huge levels of inequality that's sometimes not earned, often inherited. But there's a deeper problem. I get criticised a lot. I work a lot, and have always worked a lot, and always worked a lot with Christian churches, and with faith communities generally, particularly with Catholic Church, with Black Church, and there's lots of secular people in Labour who don't like religious people. That's one of the things that goes on. And they say to me, why do you spend so much time working with churches? And I say, well, at least they don't think that the free market created the world. But there was something before that. something before the market. And particularly that it's very important to assert the politics that is to come, that there are things that are just not commodities. So we all want, I think, real markets and real commodities, chairs, tables, pens, cars, washing machines. But I don't think there should be a free market in human beings. So human beings, we're capable of love, we're capable of grace, we're capable of responsibility, we're capable of horribleness, selfishness, greed, and avarice. And a lot depends on the politics. Politics is very important. What is rewarded, what is good. That's a crucial part. And so there have to be limits on what is marketable. There has to be some constraints. The Pope wrote a really amazing encyclical last week. I'm clearly mad this against my life. I have to read these things. But just to let you know, I really think just about creation, about the inheritance of nature. And that if we turn nature into a commodity, we just destroy it. We will destroy the environment that we live in for greed. So I'm absolutely committed to market, but there has to be limits to the market. And here lies the problem. Is that I think that where the politics is really blocked, and particularly blocked in the party that I came, is that we thought that the state was the answer to it. That you transfer all responsibility to the state. But there were kind of these guys and these girls who did PP at Oxford, and they were going to sit in their ministerial rooms, and they were going to protect us somehow from all of this. And this has been going on for a very long time. But what politics is about electing a party to take control of the state. And I'm here to say that is not what politics is. That's kind of what some kind of administration is. Politics is about people coming together, and I will talk about that a bit. But the idea has got to be, so I'll repeat the obvious, there should be a prosperous and thriving market economy, there should be a just, fair state. It has a role, but it's not all of the role. And what happened is that because of the incredible growth of the marketisation of society has been parallel with an enormous growth in the power of the state. People feel powerless, people feel marginal, people feel demoralised. And so the first thing I told you was you don't get knocked out by what you see coming. That's the first. The second thing is three kinds of power. So there's money power. We understand what money power is. We've got its chief temple in the City of London, which I realise is really not far from here. You can get to it quite easily. 14 minutes to Victoria, and you're almost there. And money can buy political agendas. Money can buy things. Money is a power. And what we're always told by liberal market economists is that the market is not a power, it is a power. Corporations have power and money has power. And if that happens in my family, that people say, could you talk more, could you talk louder? It's one of those strange things I wish my children were here to see it, I think I'd leave. So money is a power, and we have to remember that it's an organised power and pursues its interests to grow its money. So we understand money power. And then we understand that there's state. I think we all understand state power. State has the power to imprison us, pass laws. It has power over education. We understand the army. The state has coercive power. But there's a third kind of power that we've lost and we need to get back, and that's why I'm really delighted to be here. And let's just call it for a moment relational power. It's the power people have who don't have money and who don't control the levers of the state to get together and build an association and build their power through relationships. We know we talk about it in church, of a congregation, when the Spirit comes to a congregation, it's transformative. But that's the way that the Labour movement was built. Don't imagine the Labour movement was built as something that was, that was going to build a welfare state and pass laws, regarding diversity, accessibility, inclusivity, none of that. They built societies to bury each other. Because the fate of poor people's paupers' grave. Don't forget that the powers behind the Labour Party when it was built were two. It was the Catholic Church and it was the non-conformist Protestant churches, the Methodists and the others, the Salvation Army. And people came together across their divisions. And they built burial societies, they built houses, building societies. All those building societies were built within that. They built schools, they built credit unions, they built forms of relational association that meant that you weren't a commodity just to be discarded, bought and sold, and neither were you just an administrative unit to receive services from somebody you don't know. So I'm just saying that the reason for this is that the market was too powerful and the state was too powerful and people were too powerless. That's the starting point. And so, first of all, the starting point of all of this, so let me tell you a third thing. I was brought up, and one of the very rare things that my mother told me that was absolutely wrong. Most of what she told me was absolutely right, but there was a couple of issues, and unfortunately she's not alive, so I can't take it up with her personally, but I kind of do it when nobody's not looking. And she used to say, when I got discouraged, she used to say, where there's a will, there's a way. She always used to say that. I realised in politics it's the opposite. Only where there's a way is there a will. And people don't know where to start. They just want to do things. There's plenty of will, but there's no sense of where to start. And so the first thing, you've got to start with the people around you. You have to start from here. You have to start with the people in this room and to get to know them. And through relationships, you can build power. Now that's not a word that we in England like to use very much. Oh, you hear people say all the time, particularly in politics. I say, I always say to MPs, why are you an MP? And they look at me very strangely. And they usually say one of two things, to make a difference. And then they say to give voice to the voiceless, which I always say, don't you think they can speak for themselves? What is this? Are you a ventriloquist or something? And so, the point is that in order to build that sense of power, you have to get to know the people around you. And then comes the real hard bit. You have to open your heart to the people around you and not begin with this is the incredible thing I learned with doing community organising. You've got to be prepared to listen. So I know it's a really hard one. We did this work, and we tried to do this work in the Labour Party. I'll tell you a bit about it. And the average length of time it took between a Labour Party activist, organiser, member, doesn't matter, talking to a member of the public and interrupting them to tell them that they were wrong, 8 seconds. Right? That's just 8 seconds. So, you say, so what do you do? They say, well, we're worried about immigration. No, you're not. You're worried about housing. You're worried about jobs. You're worried about schools. They say, no, I'm not. And there's, yes, you are. Okay? That's not relational. That's not relationship building. It's not surprising that people just walk away and they say that you don't care and that you don't listen. So in order to build your power, you've got to be able to build genuine relationships. That means being able to know people and knowing where they are. And we found out the most extraordinary thing. So in the end, it was no good. You couldn't change the culture by saying to people, what do you want? Because you get into this argument very quickly about, no, you're wrong, no, I disagree, and it always is. What's got to happen is the state has got to spend more money, and you have got to be quiet. That was basically it. And we ended up with how many? 12 point, how many? It was nearly 4 million people who voted for the UK. And we're looking at the data, but a lot of those people were previously Labour voters. It wasn't the case that they were Conservative voters. Some of them didn't vote at all. So what we did was we asked people, what do you care about? Just tell us. With a prohibition that you couldn't speak for 45 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot of time. It's quite transformative just to listen, just to hear. So what matters to you? What do you care about? And it's just to tell you, it would be no surprise to any of you who come from faith tradition and the church tradition, but was a huge shock to Labour people, is that the first thing that people care about is their family, absolutely beyond anything. Their parents, people feel humiliated by not being able to care for their parents. They care for their children. I know, not in my case, but that's often wise said. And then even, and unbelievably, they care for each other and how to make this relationship, how to make love work in a very difficult world. So what we learn, I think, what I learned from that, is that the obligations and the duties that flow from love are still very, very important to people. And they don't want them to be contracted out. They need support in fulfilling those obligations and in strengthening their family obligations. The second thing that people cared about, which we were told shouldn't mean anything in the age of the internet, is the place that they live. So family was first, and the second thing is how people we found were kind of disgusted about how the high street was taken over by betting shops and pound shops and usury and money shops. That they found they had no control, that they cared about the place they lived in 1,000 different ways, but once again didn't know how to act, didn't know where to start in making that, in transforming the place they lived in. And that's another reason why this Opportunity and Fairness Commission is really important. And the third thing, which relates to assets a bit, is that people cared about work. Now that shouldn't really have been a shock to the Labour Party. I thought the clue was in the name. But there you go, you live and learn. But people felt humiliated at work, and they felt that they shouldn't be treated that way, but they didn't trust particularly unions to do things about that. It was very interesting. So they cared about so family, place and work. Just to share with you, turns out all across the country to be the things that people actually care about. But do you see that much about that in the mainstream politics? So the crucial thing kind of to share with you and that I learned is that everybody has kind of two aspects to their heart. They've got a genuinely radical heart where they want things to be better, and they've got a truly conservative heart where they're attached to the people that they love, the places they live in, where they feel something precious is being lost. And it's always to be attentive in yourself and with others in listening, not to argue. If someone's telling you about their life experience, they're not making a rational argument to you, they're not talking about policies, they're telling you things that they've been through. Then attend to it and listen to it, and then think about how you can work together to make these things better. These are the crucial things. So relationships first, that's where it's got to start, not with policies, not with ideas. That's why I think it's really commendable that you're taking your time to build your conversations and your relationships. Lenin was very, very bad, and he wrote what is to be done. And that's always the question. I always get asked, what are we going to do? But Marvin Gaye was a much better man. He made a record called What's Going On? And that's a much more important question to ask people first. What's going on? What's happening here? And you get a sense through these one-to-one, always one-to-one conversations about where people are. When you've got the relationship and you've actually spoken to each other, and you get a sense of what matters not just to you, because this is the life. I've got children, 16, 14, and they also get a state of life where what matters to them must matter to you. They think I'm a very, very, very bad person. Because as I say, I don't really care what you think, because you're young, you're going to grow up, you're going to learn some things. So I've got to do things to save the environment now. I've got to do things about inequality now. But what they've got to learn to do, as I keep on telling them, is persuade and talk to other people and see if they can find common actions. What we found, what I found over in Birmingham, working with London citizens, were precisely these issues. people cared about work, and they cared about that a huge amount, they cared about their family, and that found itself out in the living wage campaign. So that people wouldn't have to work 2 jobs to feed their families. Very interestingly, we remember in the anti-usury campaign, which I worked on with my small company, when he worked in the city of London, Purvis Morris Synagogue, where the financial crash came, but what nobody realised is that the banks were borrowing at 0.5%, and the poor were borrowing at 5,000%. That's what was happening, but you wouldn't know unless you were poor, unless you lived that. I was an academic, occasionally I borrowed from my mum, that was about it. But that's not how it's, you learn, and then action between estranged interests. That's what I call the politics of the common good. Bringing together people who don't talk to each other, secular, religious, Catholic and Protestant, Muslims and Jews we've got. That's the way that people build relationships on mutual interests around good, a common good. And the common good is always the same. The protection of the integrity of the person and the environment that they live in, but they shouldn't just be used. There should be some give and take. So then relationships lead to power, and then finally you get to the next question, then you do the action. When you're settled and you're agreed. And there's no shortcuts in that. It's the same with all forms of relationship. They've got to be faithful, they've got to be strong, they've got to be some difficulty. That's the real task, is to get to know each other. So just so you know, when I finish talking here, my request to you is that you have a one-to-one conversation. I say the late point, preferably with someone that you don't know, and even better with someone you don't like. But I'm sure that doesn't apply to you. But it's just a one-to-one, so not a 3-to-2, not a team meeting, a one-to-one. And the topic is what matters most to you about what you've got to do, what you've got to do here. So I just want to continue though about this because it's things that I've learned. So I learned about relationships and the importance of relationships. I learned about listening and to be attentive and to recognise that everybody is conservative as well as, not party, but has a conservative side as well as a radical side, and trying to pretend that we're either completely radical, that the state of the market are too powerful. But I also learned that nothing happens unless there's leadership. People have got to show leadership. And the definition of leadership I want to share with you is really straightforward. A leader is someone with followers. That's what a leader is. And I once told you the worst experience I ever had in politics was when I started causing a bit of a fuss in Labour. I got called in to see Gordon Brown at number 10. Believe me, I really haven't been to Parliament before, let alone number 10. I was really, when I did walk into a room where he was sitting behind the normal, I was like an ant, and there was people that Nick, I believe, worked with, and they different periods of your life. And Gordon Brown just said to me, "What is your definition of leadership?" And I said, "What? Someone with followers." And this silence came down in the room, and we really never really made it up after that. But he didn't think it was. He thought a leader was someone basically who argued with their followers. I said, "Well, you're going to be in the next election then." And it's just really important to recognise that some people bring people with them, and to really treasure those people who bring people with them, who have natural leadership. I think one area of our society which is very good at recognising leaders is the church, where people can get behind it. But we've got to be much, much better. Most people, when they think of leaders, we think about qualifications, we think about people who've been to university, who feel powerful. It's not like that. There are natural leaders in every community, and they should be suited. I come from a show business family. It was always about finding talent. And I never thought my life in politics would be 60% talent spotted, but always that. Just to know that leadership is absolutely vital. The other thing that's missing, that I just want to share with you, the crucial thing, is you only really learn from doing, and you only really learn from failing. Of course, as a Spurs supporter. Winning is great, but the reality of life, and yet we are very, very inhospitable. We don't deal with failure well. So everybody's hiding, everybody's exaggerating. It's not just in the City of London that they exaggerate it. The public sector is full of enormous exaggerations all the time. How many people you're reaching? Good now. He said to me, we've lifted 500,000 children out of poverty. It didn't go right. I said, your arms must be very, very tired. It's not like that. It's just not like that. It's so a culture of evaluation is absolutely, I found, necessary, and it's completely missing. So when I turned up in Parliament the Monday after Thursday the 7th, the meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party, I was told straightforwardly, the morning ends here, the sadness ends here, we're going out to fight the Tories, we're going to do it. And I'm like, are we even going to have a conversation about what happened 4 days ago? That was navel gazing, that was looking at the past. So it's just vital that you catch people when they fall, that you have honest conversations whenever you do any public action. Always give yourself 10 minutes at the end to get together as a group and talk about how it went. And if you don't do that, you won't learn as a group. And unless you've got the strength to say that didn't go well, that wasn't really very good, you've got to have a double strength. You've got to have the strength to say it. Nobody, my dad used to say, I don't mind criticism as long as it's not constructive, it's not for me, basically. And a lot of us feel that way. But the ability to, then you've also got to be there again to support the person, to support the other people, and that's the way that trust is built. So just to continue on about the truth that I've learned, is the really fundamental truth is you can't do anything on your own. That's you need other people. This relational thing is not kind of it's not an add-on. It's not a corporate social responsibility aspect. You cannot do it on your own. So you definitely need to build those relationships. And I just wanted to give you sort of 3 examples of areas which I think are really vital, particularly related to assets. So when I community organising was in America, I went over to America and worked with a guy called Lord Glasman, another guy called in East Brooklyn. East Brooklyn, in Hackney, I'm from Hackney, and we particularly in the 90s like to think that it was really rough. We were really, really, really rough. It was Knightsbridge compared to East Brooklyn. It really was something. A lot of violence, lots of rundown properties, lots of drug, horrible. It was really, really something. And they built this organisation called East Brooklyn Communities. We had East Croydon. East Croydon Communities, that would be great. And they did a brilliant thing. What they did is that they campaigned for state land, or New York City land, to be transferred to them. So there was an asset they located. So what New York wanted to do was sell off this land to private developers. They got a map of the area, they made a plan, what's being sold, they identified a bit of land, and the churches campaigned. It was overwhelmingly churches, Catholic Church, Presbyterian Church, Baptist Church, to have this land transferred in 3 homes, so a community land trust they called it. There was an asset transfer to them. And they, through collections in churches, they used to do a double collection every Sunday. So they actually raised quite a lot of money in all the different churches so that they would have a space. So there was the asset transfer. If you get the freehold transfer, it's half the price. Property is half the price. And this is where I learned this thing about. So I imagined being a North London middle-class person learning about all this. The people, when they began to design their houses, I thought that they'd build something that looked a bit like the view that I saw when I came out of East Croydon Station, modern blocks. Everybody wanted a townhouse with a front garden, back garden. That's what everybody wanted. I'm talking about Brooklyn in New York, I went, I've got it. That's when I learned about the conservative heart. Not to sit there and go, no, you don't want that. What you want is something that I don't want to live in, like you want to live in. It turned out that we basically wanted to live in basically the same house. That's what happened. And then, you know, it was a really interesting story when the community was in charge of these housing. Loud music late at night, 3 strikes and you're out. You know, violent behaviour on that. It was a really very disciplined. And now, I mean, I haven't been for a couple of years, but I keep informed they've got 10,000 homes. It's really huge in East Brooklyn. It's community owned. But the thing is that so the way it is that the community land trust, the organisation owns the freehold, and the family is 1,000-year leases. So it's effectively, so the asset is owned by working class poor people who wouldn't have the opportunity to own. It was done through mutual association of the laws, and the waiting list is really, really long. So I'm just saying, that's just an example of what I wanted to share with you about all the way through the last government was driving me crazy. We were fighting the cuts when we should have been fighting the land sales and claiming land for the community, because that's where the assets were, particularly here in London. The second one was the work that I did with my smoker when these incredible interest rates hit, with the money shop, with Wonga, with Money Supermarket. Slowest piece of work was building up free, bringing together churches, unions. This is the work that needs to go on so that people can have non-usurious members. But there's another aspect of having an asset, and that's having some kind of inheritance to pass on, something that you can pass on. That's what I mean with a house. That's what you mean with civic culture, but also a sense of vocation. It's hugely important that we don't send everybody to university that there's a stress of vocational work and those things. So, I think I've shared with you basically everything. I don't know. There may be something else somewhere along the line, but I'm trying to do all of that. You've got to begin where you are. You can't do it on your own. There's something absolutely beautiful and delicate about meeting people you don't know in the place that you live and finding something in common, something you don't care about. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. It might involve standing up if you're, but to just find someone that you don't know and have a one-to-one conversation with that person. It could even be about what I've said that you really dislike. You know, that's also possible. And then we need to get the questions. Thank you very much. But if you can, in every meeting that you do, in everything that you do, the most important thing I can share with you, if you can find the time for this one-to-one conversation, it changes. You know, forget everything other than that, really. Then you know something. Then there's a spark. There's something's changed. And you can see that once you start, you could go on, is the point. So I just wanted to share that. Sorry to bring it to a bubble, but I'm over to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now, questions.
Hi, am I on? Yeah. Hi, my name is Nikki Selwyn. I'm a family carer and I've been volunteering for 25 years, I guess now. So all the stuff I do is as a volunteer. I've done lots and lots of user-led things and citizen-led stuff. And I do think it's very empowering for the individuals and for the community as a whole. But picking you up on your what's going on bit, I wonder if you have any input about, you were talking about money is very invested in perpetuating itself and increasing itself. One of the biggest challenges we find as individuals, just members of the community, is that systems are designed to perpetuate themselves. And local government is just mired in systems. Now, I know because of all the many, many years I've been doing stuff, I know there are some areas, and I'm not going to name any because there's people here who might, who might be, but there's some areas who really get co-production, who understand it, who don't use us to tick boxes. But there are other organisations that don't do that, and they really think that the sole purpose of user-led organisations is to allow them to tick boxes. So my question to you, no big ask, is do you have any suggestions as to how we can really get people on board? Because I take your point that, you know, the community itself is the powerful thing. But if you've got, for example, local government, where we haven't got the assets, they've got the assets, how do we actually help make it happen that we can make a difference?
Address that, or should we do so team go around three? Nikki.
My name's Peter White, I'm Church Minister at the International.
I think I was, sorry, I didn't see you there.
My name's Pat Knight, and I do a great deal of work in the volunteer sector, like Nikki. I was surprised in your speech that you didn't mention the third sector, the volunteering sector, which I think is greatly important in empowering people, meeting need, and encouraging relationships. Yet, volunteer organisations in Croydon are greatly short of money. And one organisation lost its funding altogether, the Older People's Network, which was doing an enormous amount of good work. Now that doesn't fit with fairness and opportunity, and it's discriminatory. Also, I'd like to make a point about Croydon Council services while I've got the mic, which is that they've greatly got worse in the last year, in the sense that everything's got to be applied for online or by email. Many older people don't have computers. Many mental health people with mental health difficulties don't, or physical difficulties. And this is discriminating totally against those people, expecting them to jump through hoops and struggle to get someone else to claim benefits and to contact the system, for example, advisors at Age UK, on their behalf. And I think it's totally wrong.
Thank you.
Peter White, I'm a church minister in Council, say, Monks Hill and Croydon.
And what church?
Church of England. My question's simple, really. How do you stop sort of voluntary groups that you're sort of saying are the right answer from becoming very self-serving and sort of looking after their own narrow interest rather than the sort of common good? You know, if you look at the trade union movement, for example, it started off, you know, defending the powerless and the weak, and often, this is my opinion, they've become a bit self-serving. You know, they're very good at raising the wages of members and things like that, but sometimes at the detriment of the wider common good, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Nikki, Pat and Peter. So we'll start off with Nikki's question.
Yeah, I will. And first of all, so as a foreigner from North London, the first thing is I'm very well versed in hacking. I assume that there's some read-over into Croydon, but I don't know the details of. So this is right. So what I've really focused on, it also relates to what Pat said. So there's another rule I want to share with you, which is a very important rule, is that you always end up working for people that pay you, right? So when you've got state-funded third sector, let's have a look at, you know, I always find that there's a tendency in those organisations is that they don't talk to me about love and family, they talk to me about accessibility, inclusivity, diversity, and I'm saying, I don't know what you're talking about, and they keep on going, and they keep on going, and I realise that they're fulfilling, they're just working, and I really respect it and I understand it. So the reason that I don't talk about the third sector that much is because I like to talk about society. You know, there is and in society there are churches, and in society there are schools, and in society there are universities, in society there are congregations. There's a load of stuff going on there, and it's not necessarily the case that, certainly in my experience, that people who come, I'm just talking about how I deal with life as I'm here, is the people who, I always say when people meet me from third sector organisation, I always say, who pays you? Where's your funding? And it's often not funded by the people, it's funded externally. And so it's a very important principle, okay, more rules that I've learned. Low overheads, high autonomy. It's really, frugality, modesty is a really important thing. But I know that when I meet a church minister, I know that when I meet a rabbi, I know that when I meet a trade unionist actually, that they're funded by their people, or that they're working, and that's its own tensions or its own nightmares going on there, which I've witnessed. But what we, so that's the first thing that I'd like to share in terms of it. Just the second is that it's a really hard one, but we've got to learn to live with tension. Is that we tend to get into a situation where we think that all of this can be managed, some kind of project managed, but it can't be project managed. There's got to be, you've got to learn, you've got to broker tensions, live with it. So there's a certain dread, Stella, that I get when I hear the word consultation. And the dread that I feel is that I'm participating in something where the decision has already been made. I'm so used to working late, but I'm not used to being clapped. This doesn't go down well. But that's a really important part. We've got to just cut through that. That's what I meant about getting to know each other. Where this room has huge wisdom. You know what's going on in this place. Your wisdom together is greater than your wisdom alone. But will you take the time and have the time to talk to each other and to disagree with each other? Because those people with agendas trying to make things go a certain way, it takes a lot of courage to stand up to very determined people. But that's the point I'm making to you. That ultimately, the role of you, the role of a community organisation such as yourself is to, what did we learn from the financial crash in 2008? I think the big lesson was accountability is too important to be left to accountants, right? They really blew it. People say they're accountants, I say, who do you work for? And it turns out that accountants are paid by the companies whose books they're looking at. And I go, is this really capitalism? Is this really happening? Well, of course, if you're paid by the company and your fee is dependent on the company, you have huge incentives to be very nice, as we are when we get funding from the state. It's doing all of those things that we want us to do. And so so I really do see when you're agreed on what way to go. One of the rules I learned in organising, another one is always make your opponents live up to their rule book. You've got a council. I can assure you, your council. Every time we did living wage action when I was working with other citizens, it was as if they'd written it just for us. Every university, every bank was committed to serving the local community, putting local people first, dignity, standard of living. You've got to hold the people accountable and not work for them. And that's a really, really difficult, that's the job. I'm just sharing with you, that's the job. And then, so here's the issue with Nikki and Pat, is the volunteering. It sounds very individual. You volunteer. There's a real space for building some kind of organisation, some kind of shared organisation. where you can address some of the things that you've learned in 25 years of this work.
I have to say most of the stuff I do is in groups and networks.
Yeah, yes, no, sure. It's just building that, and sometimes the objective is not to provide services. Sometimes the objective is
A lot of
to.
the organisations do need paid staff, although they have a lot of volunteers. They can't
Yeah.
exist just on volunteers.
No, I completely get that. I'm not saying that there's not also. So what I've developed is a sort of ecology of looking at the third sector, if you like, which is just answering the question of why I often don't use the word. So there's some aspects of the third sector that are basically non-governmental state bodies providing a degree of services. Then there are institutions that are owned and run by their members. Then there are institutions that are there to have a specific good. So, we assume, I hope, the schools are there to promote knowledge and to increase learning. We think that hospitals are there to improve health and increase health. And when they are not, and when the issue is, my issue is, who is calling it on abuse in hospitals? Who is calling it? And if you're, this is the point I make about, is that there's all different types of ecology. So I agree that there's a role for the state in funding organisations, and I agree that there's a role for the market in funding organisations through corporate social responsibility, and that's important. But there's also a place for self-funded community organisations that are not working for those two. And so there has to be tension, in other words, in society between those things. And then in terms of Peter's question, is that any organisation that is isolated, works on its own, becomes that way, self-serving. So the demand of the common good is to, it's the, so you're completely right with unions. I spent 3 years on it. You wouldn't believe, so Justin Welby stood up, your boss, in the House of Lords. It was fantastic, and he said, we're going to build an alternative banking system to Wonga. We're going to build these credit unions. But the church in itself couldn't do it on its own. And the obvious ally was the trade unions. If they had gone into a partnership, they could have really done it. But you wouldn't believe, they were non-theological, theological, they were willing to put all manner, and in the end, I'm very sad, we nearly got it together in Salford, a real union of the unions and the church to set up a local bank that was built out of the credit union and would be funded on both sides. And I don't think that the church was really willing, but there were ideological, so this is the demand we've got now of the common good, is to break out of ideological and sectional, that you can build a common good. And this is the point really deep down, Peter, that I'm making, is both altruism and collectivism, both altruism and narrow self-interest. No, but you have to have, the only things I've seen never work is when people have some ownership of it and they have people's interests. So self-interest broadly conceived is the great magic to look for, because your life is better, the people around you's life is better, but not to lose a link with self-interest, but just to have a conception, because that's the constant thing in life. Either it becomes collectivized and people don't own it, or it becomes individualized. So there's much more to say about that, but it's broad-based is the key. Common good means that we also hold each other accountable.